and welcome to the Get Your Act Together podcast. I am your host, Kelly Reynolds, and today I have a wonderful guest I'm so excited about, Nathan Hirsch. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, Kelly, thanks so much for having me. It's good to be here.
So, Nathan, can you tell everyone out there what you do, where you're from?
Yeah, so I'm from Massachusetts. I live in Denver, Colorado now, but I'm a longtime entrepreneur. I started my Amazon business when I was 20 inside of my college dorm room. Started off buying and selling textbooks and eventually got a cease desist letter from my college telling me to knock it off. And that kind of changed my life. I started experimenting with other products, came across baby products. If you can imagine me as a 20-year-old with more hair selling baby products on Amazon, that was me. And it was fun, exciting. We were running a multi-million-dollar Amazon business out of my college frat house, making every good and bad decision that a young entrepreneur can make. And from there, we had used a lot of VAs and freelancers to grow this business because college kids were very unreliable. We learned that very quickly, and VAs helped us scale this business. So that got me into the VA world. And as Amazon got harder, we started to pivot and offer our VAs and freelancers to other e-commerce sellers. That became FreeUp, the FreeUp marketplace that provided VAs and freelancers, and that was a lot of fun. We got to grow our own brand, have our own website, go to podcasts, do more B2B instead of B2C. And that business exploded. We grew it from a $5,000 investment to doing $12 million a year before we were acquired in 2019, which is a whole nother story we can get into if you want. And since then, we've been running Outsource School, which is our membership that teaches people our hiring processes, and our two bookkeeping brands, Ecom Balance and Accounts Balance, for monthly bookkeeping. And I like to focus on the unsexy parts of business, the hiring and the finances, the core of really every business I've ever built. And I think other longtime entrepreneurs agree. So that's kind of the short, long story of books to baby products to FreeUp and now Outsource School and Ecom Balance.
I love it. I focus on the non-sexy parts of business too. I'm all operations and SOPs and systems. So all the things that people know they need, but so I totally get it. So that's a lot. That's a lot of story, a lot of companies, a lot of all of that kind of stuff. You got through the Portlight, right? Portlight? Was that the
that
book?
was the Amazon business.
Okay. So, and I was wondering what happened to it. So the cease and desist, and they're like, you're out. So did you lose like everything? How did that go?
Yeah, so the first year of that, I was selling textbooks. So then I got the cease and desist letter from my college, stopped selling textbooks, started experimenting with other stuff online. And then I drop shipped baby products and home goods for 5-6 years. We sold over $25 million. And that business got harder because all of a sudden there were more sellers. The algorithm changed. There were new Amazon software. So instead of doubling every year, which is what we were doing, we were pretty stagnant and it became less fun. Instead of growing the business, we were just adjusting to what changes Amazon was going to have on that given day or week. So meanwhile, on the side, we started FreeUp and we had control of our own website, our own brand. We were doing B2B and networking, and that business was exploding with even higher margins. And we slowly winded down the Amazon business to focus 100% on FreeUp, which ended up being one of the better decisions we ever made.
Yeah, I mean, you're building something that's on your own platform. It's on your own website instead of being at the whim of Amazon. That's got to be a big change.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a big piece of it and why I personally enjoy the B2B a lot more. It's a lot more fun to work with entrepreneurs as clients than your mother who's buying a baby product, I guess.
I totally agree. I can't even imagine selling baby products to my mother. So, I mean, so tell me about FreeUp. Tell me how that went, because this is the business you sell, and how does that all work?
So whenever you start a marketplace, you kind of have the chicken or the egg situation, right? Like, do you get customers first or do you get whatever you're supplying first? So like Airbnb needs to get rental properties before they can get renters. With us, we kind of had the advantage. We had all these VAs and freelancers from our Amazon business that weren't all full-time, some of them were seasonal, and we were kind of winding down our Amazon business. So we had all these people that we knew, we trusted, that were looking for work, that trusted us, that we could offer to these sellers. And we started off with a minimum viable product, this really crummy software that did very little. Like, freelancers could log their time, clients could see the time on their side, and that's it. It didn't do anything else. And
That's great.
And all the requests and stuff were spreadsheets. Like, we would keep track of what requests we would get. Hey, I need a customer service rep. I need a graphic designer, whatever it is. And people would call me, message me, text me, email me saying, hey, I need this. And we would fill those orders. So that was kind of the minimum viable product of the business. And we quickly ran out of VAs and freelancers. So we had to start recruiting and creating a vetting process. And that turned into our 1%, where we'd only let the top 1% of VAs and freelancers onto the platform. And we were getting thousands of applicants a week to become service providers. So then we started to build structure around it. Hey, if you do these things, you'll get kicked off the platform, to try to protect our customers, and set up a billing process, and hired a bookkeeper. That was one of our even great decisions, hiring a bookkeeper from month one to do our books going forward and pay our freelancers and charge our clients and create really our billing process. And we went to sell the business years later. Having 4 years of immaculate books really helped us pass due diligence and gave us the idea for starting a bookkeeping business. But that's kind of how we got it off the ground from a business side. And from a marketing side, we knew nothing about marketing. I mean, we came from a place where you post something on Amazon, Amazon gets you the customers, and that's it. You just fulfill it. We had to learn SEO. We went on our first podcast, which was terrifying for me. Now I've done hundreds of them, but at the time I was speaking for the first time. We developed partnerships. We said, hey, let's find all the people in the Amazon space, the agencies, the software companies, the influencers, and we only provide VAs. If they have the same audience and do something different, let's partner with them. We'll promote them to our audience. They'll promote us to theirs, and do different content swaps there. So it was kind of a combination of learning all these different marketing tactics, and we never really spent money on ads. We grew this business very organically. Wow. We launched an affiliate program where anyone you referred, you got 50 cents for every hour billed forever, and that blew up. We're paying out hundreds of thousands of dollars in affiliate money. So it was a lot of trial and error from the marketing side as we slowly built the software and the processes on the business side.
That's amazing. I love that you took a deep dive and were like, all right, I need to go learn marketing. We are in this similar kind of thing right now that I'm learning a lot. I've stayed on the outside as much as possible in my life. And now I'm doing that same kind of deep dive into all these different ways that you could work with other people. So I love that. And so what makes you want to sell this business?
Yeah, so this was when we first talked to our potential buyers, and they were actually clients of FreeUp. We didn't necessarily have the intention of selling it. FreeUp was doing really well. This was mid-2019, so before COVID, and the buyers came to us and essentially said, we like FreeUp, we use FreeUp, we want to get into the VA freelancer space. We don't start businesses, we buy them. They had a whole portfolio of companies. Would you guys be interested in talking about an acquisition? And like anything else, we kind of heard them out and answered their questions about the business and had a lot of time to think on it when they actually made an offer. And we kind of looked at it as a few things. I mean, first of all, the economy at the time was an all-time high, and we didn't know how long that would last. We had grown FreeUp to $12 million a year, on pace for $12 million a year in the last year. And we knew that we would have to make drastic changes to get it to $20-25 million a year. And those changes probably came with short-term, making less money on the short term to hopefully make money long term, but there would also be learning curves and probably mistakes along the way. The offer was life-changing money to the point where we wouldn't have to work again unless we wanted to. And we wanted to take really good care of our team. We planned to give $500,000 to our team in the Philippines and change their life. So we kind of looked at it as, hey, if we're going to sell this business, we got to have no regrets. We got to be making the best decision possible based on the information that we have. And if we didn't sell the business and then we ran into the ground, or we couldn't get it to 25 million, like that would not be great for us or our team or anything there. So we tried to kind of make the best decision based on what the data was telling us and what we thought we could do and what the offer was. And we also had the opportunity to sell it to two really good entrepreneurs that we look up to, both from a business side, but also a value side. I mean, we did a lot of due diligence on them, just like they were doing due diligence on us. And we wanted to know how they treat people, their plans for FreeUp, their success, their failures, all of that kind of stuff. And we couldn't have sold it to better people. We didn't want to end up in a lawsuit down the line or not get every penny that we were owed or whatever. And to their credit, they honored their word. They took care of our team. Our team still works there. Free Up's running great. They paid us every penny they owed us, and they're mentors to us now, and they've helped us promote our outsource school and our bookkeeping service, Econ Balance and Accounts Balance, just to be nice, just to help us out. So that was kind of our thinking at the time.
That sounds like the like golden cell. Like all of it went well. That everyone still has their jobs. And I think that a lot of people out there have never probably gone through a sell, at least at this kind of level. So you mentioned due diligence, and I've just gone through this for the last year. One of my largest clients sold their business last year. So I was on the operations side helping them. And it was my first experience seeing all of that. And I'm sure a lot of people haven't. So explain kind of this process. Like, what is due diligence? Like, how long does the sell take? Like, it's not just, here's a check, see you later. There's like, it's a lot more involved than that.
Yeah, so it was an initial call and kind of some initial conversations. Then it was a letter of intent with an offer and a little negotiating there. And then from there, the due diligence began once we signed it. And the wholesales process took about 6 months. It was by far the most stressful 6 months of my life. You kind of wake up every day like, is this deal going to go through? I got to continue to focus on growing this business because if it doesn't go through, I want a business to go back to. And the due diligence was actually easier for us because we were just very organized. We had all of our SOPs written down, 50 pages, everything from customer service to sales. We had immaculate financials. We had reports that covered everything. And they bought a lot of companies, and they told us we were the fastest to respond to due diligence questions. They would email us at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by the afternoon, they'd have their 20, 30 questions answered, and then we would throw 20 questions at them because we were doing due diligence on them. And so that was back and forth for a few weeks, and that wasn't really the longest part. We passed due diligence, and that went pretty well, and they asked everything from finances to different breakdowns of customers, to the team, to the process, to why we do things, to our affiliate program, our marketing efforts, you name it. But then once the lawyers got involved, that's what took longer. And that wasn't their fault or our fault. I mean, our lawyers are trying to protect us and vice versa. But for us, it's like the biggest moment of our lives. For the lawyers, it's just another Tuesday. They have got other clients. They have vacations that are going on. So we'd send it to them, and then it would take a week, and it'd go to us, and our lawyer would take a week. And that dragged out months and months and months. And I think both sides became a little frustrated, just antsy to get the deal done. So the due diligence, I think just having SOPs and having good financials put us ahead of 99% of the companies that go through due diligence now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm a total systems person, so I'm going to always champion systems. But what would happen if you'd gone through all that process and your books weren't that clean, or you didn't have processes in place, you didn't have SOPs in place? How would that have worked out?
I mean, these particular buyers, like they're skeptical buyers. Like they want to protect themselves, and they're looking for reasons to not do the deal. I don't mean that in a bad way. Just like you want to look for red flags, and if we had. If our finances weren't in order, or let me put it this way, on the initial call that we had with them, they asked us a lot about our finances, and we knew our finances really well because we had done our books every month. We had a finance meeting every month, and so we answered all those questions on the phone. Then they got access to the books, and everything that was in the books matched exactly what we told them on that initial phone call, and that built a lot of trust. And if we didn't have that, the deal might have just been dead right there. Or if they got in the books, and Connor and I have gone through this with different companies we potentially invested in, you go into the books and it doesn't match anything that they've been telling you, and right then and there you don't want to work with those people anymore. So I mean, having immaculate books, I don't know how people sell companies without it. I mean, I run a bookkeeping company now, and you'll get people who come to us last minute. They're like, hey, I got this deal that I'm trying to close in 30 days, but I haven't done my books in 3 years. Like, can you do it? And we're like, no, we can't do 3 years of books in 30 days. Like, that's not happening. So for me, the bookkeeping was a big part of that.
Well, yeah. I mean, we are finance people here. I have a wonderful bookkeeper on my team that she's the one who goes in and fixes those messes for smaller businesses. But I can't imagine doing that for an enormous deal 3 years altogether. That would be a lot, right? Right. And I mean, building that trust up and knowing that you're going to be buying something that is what you said it was. And then having those processes and those SOPs in place so that they're buying something that they can continue, right?
Right, absolutely. I mean, we would have rather taken less money and sold it to like really good people that were going to take care of our team, take care of our clients, not hurt our reputation because we want to start other businesses and we've already gotten clients for our other companies, Outsource School and Accounts Balance from people that use FreeUp and really like FreeUp and know how we do business. So we didn't want any of that ruined. And we obviously wanted to make sure that they were going to honor their word. So we cared a lot more about selling to the right people. Obviously, the amount of money in the offer is important, but we didn't want to sell to the highest price and then end up arguing with them for the next 3 years. We wanted to sell the company, put the company in a good spot, everyone moves on to the next thing, and everyone kind of wins. And that's really what we were looking for.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, I mean, that's the ideal, right? Instead of just getting rid of it, hiding a whole bunch of stuff, and then hoping that they have to deal with it later, right?
Right.
I'm sure there's some people out there like that. But so tell me about, I love that like you went from providing VA services on kind of one side of the transaction to your company Outsource School being on almost the other side of the transaction, training business owners to then get help. How like is that, did you just feel like there was a lack of knowledge in the business world that they didn't know what to look for? Like, why did you go on the other side?
Yeah. So the real story is we sold we sold FreeUp, and the original plan was to take a few years off and travel the world. I didn't think I would see my business partner for 6 months or a year. And we sold it in November 2019. Well, sure enough, COVID hit a few months later, and all of a sudden we're stuck at home with no business to run, nothing to do, and you can only watch so much Netflix, and we couldn't travel or anything. So a very weird position to be. Not that I'm complaining. There's definitely people that had it way harder than I did, but we didn't really know what to do. We didn't have any new business ideas or anything like that. So a bunch of people started reaching out to me saying, hey, will you teach people how to hire? Will you consult with me? We don't really want to be coaches or consultants. We're not really interested in selling our time. But we said, hey, we'll create this course called Cracking the VA Code, which teaches our interviewing, onboarding, training, and managing process that we use in our companies. And we'll launch it. And if people like it, great. They can, it'll help people and we'll sell it. And if people hate it, we'll just refund them and move on to the next thing. And so we spent a few months putting that together, and the feedback was really good. And we started taking our other SOPs and adding them to Outsource School to the point now where the cracking the VA code is the main thing, but you also get access to, hey, this is how we get on podcasts with VAs or do lead generation or hire a customer service VA, whatever it is. And that's kind of how the idea came for that. And as we were running Outsource School and it kind of became a passive income stream for us, we started brainstorming other business ideas, and there were a lot of bad ideas thrown in there, but we kind of came across the bookkeeping space. It's a big market. And from our research, a lot of bookkeepers are bad at hiring, bad at scaling, bad at processes, bad at speaking entrepreneur, not so great at SEO and marketing. And we kind of saw an opportunity there. Plus we knew what great bookkeeping did for our business, not just because tax season was less stressful or we were able to sell the company, but just making decisions every single month based on what the numbers are actually telling us. So that's kind of how we segued from FreeUp to Outsource School and then eventually Econ Balance and Accounts Balance.
How many businesses are you in at this point? Are you out of FreeUp? How long were you required to stay after the sale?
So we only were interested in selling FreeUp if we were 100% out. We didn't want to stay on as an employee. We didn't want to do anything like that. So we were out of there. I think that the document said 60 days, but I don't even think it took that long. I think we were out of there within 30 days. So it was pretty quick. And like we were there, like they came over the next year, like they came to us with small questions here and there or get our take on something. And we were happy to answer them. But I mean, our SOPs were good. And I think the one thing that I can say is like, I was the face of FreeUp, and one thing I heard for 4 years is like, hey, if you're the face, like it's really hard to sell your company. But the key was I didn't do anything in like operations, fulfillment, recruitment. Like we had a great, amazing team and systems and processes for that. And it's fairly easy to replace me in marketing. Like the people that bought us own a bunch of marketing companies. Like they can come in with a different marketing plan, a different marketing strategy, replace me with whoever. And that's fairly simple. It doesn't take that much transition time for that. If the operations run smoothly and the operations don't involve the owner, that's what's key when selling your business.
Now, was that like an intentional decision to like get yourself out of the business?
Yeah. I tell people now, like, don't become an employee of your company after you sell it. I have a buddy who sold his company way bigger than FreeUp, and he was like, yeah, I'm going to stay on as an employee for 2 years. And I told him straight up, I'm like, you're going to hate this. Like, you're not going to last 2 years. And within 6 months, he came to me. He's like, Nate, that was the worst decision I ever made. I renegotiated. I'm out now. And like, that's how it normally plays out. There's always exceptions, and sometimes it works out really well. But for me, if we were going to sell FreeUp, we were only going to do it if we were completely out and free to work on something else. And I don't ever want to be an employee of anything, never mind my own company, you know?
That totally. I have heard like 6 months being a quick exit. So for you to be like 30 to 60 days, it seems amazing. Most people are in there for 2 to 5 years. And I can't imagine like running it and knowing all the things and like being able to do what I want. And then all of a sudden I'm an employee of someone else with my stuff. Like I can't even imagine that. So 2 years, yeah, that sounds like hell. How long do you think it took you to get out of the business? Like to get out of the day-to-day of that business?
It was probably a good like year and a half, maybe even 2 years. I mean, by year 2, I was pretty close to out of like the operations of it. I was still doing sales calls, and then we hired like VA. So the cool thing about FreeUp, we had thousands of VAs and freelancers on the platform. Our internal team was 30 people, no U.S. employees, all in the Philippines, all remote. We had no office, no U.S. employees, and they did everything from customer service to recruitment to sales calls. And so by year 2, that's when I started to hire like salespeople, where I was really out of everything. But by the end of year 1, I was out of operations. And for us, operations is like recruiting VAs and freelancers, vetting them, matching them with clients, and like the actual like client sign up process as well.
So that's where you started. You started getting out of like that day-to-day hiring, like operations grind, that day-to-day. Right. And then you moved out and sales was last.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of like doing your own sales calls and talking to your initial customers and getting feedback to where you really fine tune the sales process before you pass it over to someone else.
Agreed. Yeah. And I feel like being in the sales calls also gives you the idea of like what's going on in the market so that you can be making good decisions, even if you're not like typing the spreadsheets up, like you're still connected to the world that you're in.
Right. And most of the company that I build, we're not talking about like hour-long presentation sales calls. They're usually like quick 5 to 15-minute calls. You like answer some questions, you give your little pitch, whatever. I don't really believe in like hard selling people. Most things you don't necessarily have to. So I'm taking a lot of these calls, but they're relatively small.
Got ya. Yeah. So what if you could go back? What would you have done differently with this sale?
With the actual sale, I'm not sure I would do anything differently, only because
it sounds pretty sweet.
We're pretty happy with the way everything turned out. I mean, there's different things we could have done to maybe get the company bigger before we sold it to get a higher valuation. Like I mentioned, the minimal viable product, the software. For the first year, we didn't really invest much in the software because we didn't really know what FreeUp was going to become. We didn't see like the benefit. And then we started investing in the software and adding features and client sign up and ticketing systems and job boards and all this stuff that added a lot of value and just proprietary stuff for the company. And if we had started that a year earlier, we would have been a lot farther by the time we sold it. So stuff like that could have definitely helped. I think we never actually figured out the paid ads portion of it, which I think could have been good. It was a very tough business to run paid ads because you sign up for free. It's freelance and VA, so you can start, stop. You can sign up and then not use it for 3 months and then sign up and hire a VA. And so like measuring turnover and how much you actually make per client off like a Facebook ad was tough, not impossible, but hard. And I think we kind of just avoided that for a bit. So there's small stuff like that we could have maybe gotten a higher valuation, but we're really happy how everything turned out.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds wonderful. Having gone through not the easiest transition this past year, that sounds wonderful. So for Where Outsource School, is there like I think a lot of the audience here may be like us, like me, and I think a lot of our clients are like you. That are creating these businesses and we're doing the operations for them, more service-based. Do you see a huge need when you're working with business owners in Outsource School? Like, is there a need that you're seeing that is not being met in the market right now with remote workers? So, I mean, we're not placing VAs or freelancers. We're more just giving people our hiring process.
I mean, to me, it blows my mind how entrepreneurs don't focus on hiring. Like, it's really hard to be an entrepreneur if you're not good at hiring, if you're having a lot of turnover, if every time you need to hire a graphic designer, you're posting a job on Upwork and you don't have like a Rolodex of people to go to that you've just built up over time. So that's kind of my whole thing is like, hey, they don't teach you hiring in school, but it's essential what you do. There's very few 7-8 figure entrepreneurs that are solo operations. Like, it happens, but it's very rare. So I kind of keep people focused on like, hey, there's lots of things out there like PPC and like different TikTok and all these different things that are very like shiny object syndrome, but focus on the core. You can hire for all that stuff. You don't need to take a course on every little fad or new thing that comes up. What you need to do is be able to be good at hiring, and that's going to solve a lot of your issues.
As a person who's had to grow a team, like that has been the thing. Like in the beginning, I had no idea what I was doing. And you hire some terrible fits and you have to get rid of those terrible fits, and that's awful. And then you have to like learn and learn. So I love this idea of the school that business people could go and learn how to hire. Like when I was reading all your stuff, I thought that was amazing because so many entrepreneurs, like they come out of corporate, maybe they started a business, they know their thing, but they don't know how to run a business. They definitely don't know how to hire unless they were in HR before. They don't know how to hire. Right. Even if they were a manager, they might have interviewed people, but they didn't really know what they were doing. So I love it. I love it. So what are you telling your students to focus on? Is it something in particular? Should they be hiring certain kind of roles, like they should get a VA or an OBM or whatever? Or is it, looking at what they need? Like, how are you kind of shepherding them into hiring?
So, I mean, what you need definitely depends more on your business. I think we like to focus on the stuff that people miss. So like everyone knows that you need to interview someone, right? How you interview can be unique, and we have a good interview process. But that next step of onboarding them and setting expectations, that's where a lot of entrepreneurs go wrong. So it's stuff like that I think we try to open people's mind up to that, hey, like just because you interviewed someone and they seem good, like you're not done. You want to really make sure they know what they're getting into, that you're setting the expectations for the culture and the rules of your company and what you'll put up with and what you don't. And then making sure that you have a system in place where you can catch bad hires early on. Like even if you're good at hiring like me, you're still going to make a bad hire here and there. And figuring that out in the first 2 or 3 weeks is way different than figuring out 6 to 9 months later. So we like to focus on the things that really save people time and money and will help their business. And it's usually those small things that are missed in between the hiring process.
Yeah, awesome. And how is this set up? Is this a course? Is this a membership? How does it work?
Yeah, it's a yearly membership. If you're a member, you get access to all of our courses and SOPs, and you get access to our Facebook group and community. We do a live coaching call once a month that you get access to as well. But the main thing is cracking the VA code, which is our interviewing, onboarding, training, and managing process. And then we have a lot of SOPs that people like that they can kind of plug into their business depending on what they're trying to do.
Awesome. So tell me about accounts balance. You said you saw a need because your books were so good. Right in the beginning, you had it from day one. Why this business when you already have another business? When you have all these other things going, why account balance? Why did you go through that?
Well, outsource school is pretty passive, so we wanted something that we could put a little bit more focus and energy into. We like the bookkeeping space. I mean, it's something we think will be around for the next 30 years, which is always appealing to us. There's recurring revenue, there's stickiness, there's an opportunity on the marketing and SEO side because a lot of bookkeepers go by referrals and aren't necessarily great at the marketing side. So we definitely saw an opportunity, and we wanted to do something different than the VA and freelancer space. And we kind of came up with a straightforward service where charge you on the 1st, books by the 15th, income statement, balance sheet, cash flow each month. That's it. And our quotes are 2 parts, a fixed price for any kind of setup, catch up, cleanup, a fixed price for your monthly with a month for free. And we really wanted to make it easy and simple. And we're process junkies. So everything from signing up to getting a quote to getting integrated, getting us the access you need to how you communicate with our bookkeepers and putting reports and everything in a way that you can actually understand. We wanted to make that as straightforward as possible and support the bookkeeping team. We spent a lot of time hiring a controller and a great bookkeeping team and putting the supporting pieces around that to really make it a good business and a great client experience. So that was kind of our thinking behind it, and we've kind of spent the past year or so trying to execute that.
It sounds like everything to you guys is just figuring out the process so you can scale it. It's not you Nathan, doing the books for someone, calling them the next week, or even hiring out a small team to do those books. It's really this processing of being able to make this repeatable very easily to scale.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a bookkeeper, so me going in and doing your books wouldn't accomplish that much. But yeah, it's all about and getting the team in the right mindset too, because we'll hire bookkeepers that are really good at what they do. They're high level bookkeepers. Some of them are CPA equivalents, whatever. But getting that repeatable process where every bookkeeper is doing it the exact same way, so that when an issue comes up, it's handled the same way. That takes training and systems and repetition, and that's kind of what we spend a lot of time doing.
I love it. I love it. You're talking all of my love languages here. I love the not having all the chaos going on. This is wonderful. Nathan, this has been fantastic today. Like I said, you're talking my love languages. Can you tell everyone where they can find you?
Absolutely. So first of all, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, Nathan Hirsch. I put out a lot of content around hiring and bookkeeping that you can check out. From there, outsourceschool.com. If you're interested, would love to have you as a member. You can book a call with my VA, Anna, right on the website if you want to see what an all-star virtual assistant looks like. And then accountsbalance.com, mention this podcast, get the first 2 months free, and we'll get you a quote pretty quickly.
Awesome. Well, that's a wonderful deal there. And thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me this week. If you have an agency or want to create one, come join my Facebook community, Get Your Agency Together, where we talk all the things growing and scaling your agency. For show notes and more info on all the things, head over to reynoldsobm.com. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook at ReynoldsOBM. And finally, if you enjoy this podcast, I would love for you to give us a review on iTunes.